Have you ever wondered how one survives in the unforgiving wilderness of the Wild West? Not just physically, but also socially and politically? Let's explore this through the life of the legendary mountain man, Jim Bridger. Emerging from the solitude of the mountains after 17 long years, Jim Bridger found himself straddling two worlds. The untamed wilderness had been his home, his sanctuary, and his teacher. But now he found himself back in the throes of civilization, a world filled with politics, trade, and social intricacies. The contrast was stark, but Bridger was nothing if not adaptable. His years in the mountains had not only honed his survival skills, but also his understanding of the Native American cultures. He had lived among them, learned their languages, their traditions, their ways of life. This deep knowledge and respect for their cultures allowed him to diffuse potential conflicts, to negotiate, to build alliances. His diplomatic nature was a remarkable trait, especially in a time and place where violence was often the first response. Bridger's return to civilization wasn't just a physical journey from the wild mountains to the bustling city. It was a shift from a life of solitary survival to one of strategic alliances and negotiations. It was a transition from living in harmony with nature to navigating the complex networks of human society. And yet, Bridger managed to bridge these two worlds with the grace and grit of a true frontiersman. His ability to adapt, to understand, and to negotiate set him apart. He wasn't just a rugged mountain man. He was a diplomat, a strategist, a survivor. He was a man who could hunt a grizzly in the morning, negotiate a treaty in the afternoon, and tell a captivating tale by the fire in the evening. Bridger's return marked the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with alliances, conflicts, and survival. In the coming scenes, we'll delve deeper into this chapter of his life, exploring the establishment of Fort Bridger, the rising tensions with the Mormons, the seizure of his fort, and the personal tragedies that underscored the harsh realities of frontier life. Stay tuned as we journey through the life of Jim Bridger, the legendary mountain man of the Wild West. In the midst of a turbulent era, Bridger sought stability. His solution? Fort Bridger. In the wild, unpredictable landscape of the West, Jim Bridger carved out a piece of certainty, a haven amidst the chaos. Fort Bridger was more than just a structure. It was an embodiment of Bridger's astute foresight and strategic planning. Nestled in the heart of the wilderness, this fort served as a beacon of security and opportunity, a testament to Bridger's vision of stability. As a seasoned mountain man, Bridger was no stranger to the unpredictability of frontier life. Yet he yearned for something more, a place to call home, a place where his family could be safe from the tumultuous world outside. So he built Fort Bridger, not just as a shelter for his loved ones, but as a trading post that would become a hub of commerce. Here, Bridger combined his keen understanding of the land and its resources with his innate entrepreneurial spirit. He strategized, creating a space that would not only provide refuge, but also opportunities for trade and commerce. But Fort Bridger was more than just a business venture. For Bridger, it was a statement of intent, a declaration of his commitment to carve out a stable life amidst the chaos of the frontier. It was a testament to his belief in community, in the power of people coming together for mutual benefit. Indeed, Fort Bridger was a beacon in the wilderness, a symbol of resilience and adaptability. It was a place where people could find shelter from the elements, trade goods, and share stories. It was a place where Bridger could watch his children grow, secure in the knowledge that he had provided a safe haven for them. Through Fort Bridger, Bridger revealed his strategic acumen. He leveraged his knowledge of the land, his relationships with Native Americans, and his understanding of the changing dynamics of the West to create a fort that could withstand the test of time. Fort Bridger was a fortress of resilience in the face of uncertainty, a symbol of Bridger's strategic fortification. Tensions and misunderstandings can strain even the strongest of alliances. This was true for Bridger and the Mormons. A growing discord began to echo in the valleys of the Wild West. As resources became scarcer, competition for these lifelines heightened. Bridger and the Mormons found themselves in a struggle for survival. their once cordial friendship strained by the harsh realities of frontier life. The Mormons, led by Brigham Young, were expanding rapidly, their numbers swelling with each passing day. They were a force to be reckoned with, their influence spreading across the landscape. Their needs grew, and so did their desire to control the resources they depended on. Bridger, with his trading post at Fort Bridger, found himself in direct competition with the Mormons. The trading post was not just a source of income for Bridger, it was his lifeline, providing him with the resources he needed to survive in the wilderness. This rivalry over resources began to fuel misunderstandings and suspicions. The tension was further exacerbated by the paranoia of the Mormon leader. Brigham Young viewed Bridger's influence among the Native American tribes and other settlers as a threat. His fear began to distort reality, and he started seeing enemies where there were none. Young accused Bridger of selling alcohol and firearms to the Native Americans, a charge that Bridger vehemently denied. This false accusation further strained their relationship, casting a dark shadow over their once friendly alliance. The rift between Bridger and the Mormons grew, the tension between them palpable. Bridger, the rugged frontiersman with a knack for diplomacy, found himself in a precarious situation. His skills were put to the test as he navigated this complex and volatile relationship. The misunderstandings, the competition, the false accusations, all these elements simmered beneath the surface, creating an undercurrent of unease. The stage was set for a conflict, the echoes of which would reverberate through the mountains and valleys of the Wild West. As the relationship soured, the stage was set for a conflict that would change Bridger's life forever. In a world where power and resources were everything, Fort Bridger became the center of a territorial dispute. A sense of unease hung in the air as Brigham Young, the leader of the Mormons, eyed the fort with a mix of envy and suspicion. The Mormons, ever expansionary, sought to spread their influence across the frontier. Fort Bridger, a prosperous trading post, was a tantalizing prospect. The tension between the Mormons and Bridger had been simmering for quite some time. Their relationship, which had begun as a cordial alliance, had devolved into a bitter rivalry. Competition for resources, coupled with Young's paranoia about Bridger's influence, had fractured their once amicable relationship. One day, the inevitable happened. The Mormons, fueled by a potent mix of fear, envy, and ambition, seized Fort Bridger. The seizure was not just an act of territorial aggression, but a deeply personal affront to Bridger. His fort, which had been his sanctuary amidst the chaos of the frontier, was now in the hands of his rivals. Bridger, the rugged frontiersman who had spent years navigating the treacherous terrain of the Wild West, was suddenly bereft of his most prized possession. His fort, his home, his refuge was no longer his. The seizure marked a significant loss for Bridger, both financially and personally. The seizure of Fort Bridger also underscored the harsh realities of frontier life. In a landscape where survival was a daily struggle, territorial disputes often had severe consequences. The seizure was a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of power and the relentless pursuit of resources that characterized the frontier. Despite the loss, Bridger's spirit remained unbroken. He continued to navigate the tumultuous terrain of the Wild West, his resilience a testament to his indomitable spirit. Yet the seizure of Fort Bridger left an indelible mark on his life, a poignant reminder of the transience of power and the relentless competition for resources. The seizure of Fort Bridger signaled a decline in Bridger's status, a poignant reminder of the fleeting nature of power. In the harsh realities of frontier life, personal tragedies were all too common. For Bridger, it was the loss of his daughter Marianne. As the winds of conflict whirled around him, Bridger faced a storm of his own, a deep, personal loss that would forever alter his life's course. His young daughter, Marianne, was ensnared in the tragic events known as the Whitman massacre, an event that saw the brutal murder of missionaries and settlers at the hands of the Cayuse and Umatilla tribes. This event sent shockwaves through the frontier, and for Bridger, it hit too close to home. Marianne, a beacon of joy and innocence, was suddenly ripped away from him, her life extinguished in the unforgiving wilderness of the Wild West. This was a painful reminder of the vulnerability of those living on the frontier, where the line between life and death was often blurred by the harsh realities of survival. This personal tragedy was a stark contrast to the broader conflicts Bridger was embroiled in. As he navigated territorial disputes and power struggles, the loss of his daughter brought him face to face with the consequences of frontier life on a deeply personal level. It was a sobering reminder that behind the grand narratives of exploration and expansion, there were human stories of loss and grief. Bridger's loss was not just a personal one. It was a microcosm of the hardships faced by many families in the Wild West. The dangers were not just from armed conflicts or territorial disputes, but from the very elements themselves: the harsh climate, the rugged terrain, and the constant threat of violence. The loss of Marianne underscored the fact that in the Wild West, survival was never guaranteed. It was a constant battle, a relentless struggle against the odds. Bridger's personal loss underscored the harsh realities of the Wild West, a world where survival was a constant battle.